name is Mark Joseph Hupcey. On the military record, it goes by Joseph Hupcey. And there's a story behind that. Somebody made a mistake in administration office. It followed me through the military for 4 years. They had my middle name as my first, and my uh, middle first name is my middle name. So it's actually Mark Joseph Hupcey, but on the military records, it's Joseph Mark Hupcey. I was in the United States Air Force. Um, I served from 1970 to 1974. And if I had to do it all over again, I would. Well, being new at that point to the VA, it's hard to get somebody to understand your problem. And not everybody at the VA is on board with benefits. Sometimes they switch you from this person to that person. Then they'll say, well, you have to fill out this form or that form. So when you submit them, you don't know if you're going to get an answer back right away. So sometimes you wait for months. And I got to the point I got so frustrated that I had to look elsewhere because trying to do it on your own is like trying to pull your own tooth with a pair of pliers. And when I contacted Hill and Ponton, I explained to them what my situation was, what I was exposed to, what happened in the military, and they turned me over to Attorney Shannon Brewer. And from that point on, things became a lot easier for me. Um, I was assured that they would look into every problem that I was having. And if somebody closed a door on me, Shannon was able to open another door. And she got answers where I couldn't get answers. With the knowledge that Hill and Ponton has, um, it is so valuable to any veteran looking for resolution with their claim. Okay, for one thing, when they talked about Agent Orange and the effects it had on the body, um, it was sad because I didn't know where to find the answers to these questions. Some of the doctors that I had, if you had a nurse practitioner or a physician assistant, they weren't really up to date on a lot of the illnesses. So when you hear the word presumptive, then you think to yourself, okay, what does this mean? How do they go about doing it? Well, when I talked to Shannon, Shannon would say, okay, a presumptive illness is this, or they're presuming that you were exposed. The illness that you have is created by Agent Orange. And every year they would add something new to the list. Well, the sad part about it is I came down with a lot of the illnesses, and they get compounded because one goes into the next illness. And when you ask questions at the VA, sometimes you don't get the answers you're looking for because they don't know the answers. When you go for a compensation hearing, um, hopefully you'll get a doctor that understands what your illnesses are and what caused them, and then they proceed to rate you. Um, I had so many denial letters, and when I would call and ask what the problem was with this, well, you didn't submit this form, or you didn't submit that form, or we need more evidence. We need documentation, or do you have a nexus letter from one of your buddies that you were in the military with? The sad part about it, over a 50-year span, you lose track of some of the people that you were with. And the ones that you stayed in contact with have passed away from illnesses. Some of them have passed away from cancers. That was one of the biggest problems that we had. Um, and once a person comes down with the illness and they can't get um, any type of treatment for it, or they want to give you another pill, or they want to take a biopsy of your liver, or they want to do a little more research on it, they should have the answers there for you, but they don't. And dealing with the government is really tough. Oh, I would recommend them in a heartbeat. Uh, they made life so much easier. The stress level that you're under when you are dealing with the VA on your own and the government on your own, the stress level can take you right into a heart attack. And that was one of my problems. I had 2 heart attacks. And my wife would always tell me, calm down, calm down. We'll get through this. We'll get through that. But when I contacted Hill and Ponton, and I explained my situation and what I was exposed to, and the questions that we asked in meetings. And I'll give you for instance, when I questioned one of our commanding officers, I says, you know, you're spraying around all these buildings, and within days, you can't even find a blade of grass. I said, and the person that's spraying, he doesn't have protective equipment on, no rubber gloves, no respirator. And I says, and we're walking through the same areas daily. And his answer to us was, it is not harmful to humans or animals. It is only for vegetation. And, when you're 18, 19, 20 years old, you kind of believe what they're telling you. When I explained this to Shannon, and I told her, I says, we got to get some sort of answers for this. Well, we found out that the government lied to us, for one thing. It was harmful to humans and animals. If it's got such um, a hold on vegetation, can you imagine what it does to us? And the sad part about it is uh, the vegetation is vegetables, all your fruits, your vegetables that you serve to the people. Well, we ate those vegetables. We had our clothing washed in the waters there. We didn't have the wash machines and dryers like we have back here in the States. So you had the locals wash your clothes, and it was in all the waters. So what happened is uh, the chemicals, when you started to sweat and got hot, it would seep into your pores. And you didn't think of it back then. It was, 40, 50 years later when you start coming down with all these illnesses. Well, when I talked to Shannon and I told her uh, the story, she says, I have documentation. And she says, we will fight this. So it was one of the biggest reliefs I've ever had in my entire life, that I had somebody fighting on my behalf. And when she fought on my behalf, um, she knew what buttons to push, what doors to open, and she got information really quick. And then she was always there to, answer a question. If I had a question, I could send her an email or one of her assistants, and they would get back to me within a day. And I was so impressed with that law firm, the way they fought for the veteran. And I would listen to their podcasts that they had. And the questions I had, there were hundreds of veterans that had the same questions, and they would get answers to them. And you just felt that sigh of relief that, you're not alone. And they never made you feel like you were alone. Hill and Ponton were on top of things. And like I said, they would give you a call time to time, or they would tell you straight out, look, this is going to take a few months, could take a year, you know, but they kept you informed all the way. So you weren't fighting this yourself. Oh, absolutely. And the thing is, I've done my research on it. So I actually belong to my daughter was actually affected. My daughter cannot have children, and we couldn't find out why. You know, and she's now going to be 49 years old, and at the age of 22 years old, she had a total hysterectomy, and they didn't know why at that early age she had to go through that. Well, 40 years later, we find out that this is something that was passed down from me. And the reason I know that is um, Vanderbilt University in Tennessee is doing a study on the Agent Orange, and they've gone back 5 generations. And one of the biggest things for the children is spina bifida. If they came down with spina bifida, they were awarded uh, full health the rest of their life, and they were compensated for it. Well, now they've added a lot of other issues for the children, and infertility is one of them. When we asked the doctor at University Hospital here in Cleveland, we said, "Is it possible for her to have at least one child? You know, in vitro fertilization?" And the doctor says it's $10,000 a shot to have that done to try to get it accomplished. But he says, I don't think your daughter is a candidate. He said, you'd be spending $10,000 on nothing. Well, that kind of weighed on my mind, excuse me, uh, for many years. And then when I got a hold of these people in at Vanderbilt University and listened to their study, and I sent correspondence back and forth, I found out yes, it was part of it. And there's a memorial in Springfield, Tennessee, that is an Agent Orange memorial, and Ken Gamble, who brought this to light about 7, 8 years ago, maybe a little longer, has names on this memorial of all the people that have passed away from Agent Orange or have been affected through it. My daughter had put my name on it. Excuse me. Um, a, a couple of years ago, and we went down for the ceremony on Vietnam Veterans Day, which was March 29th. And it was just fabulous. They had speakers from the VA there. They had speakers from the State House, from the governor's office. They had people from Vanderbilt University. It was a town hall meeting, and you answer questions, ask questions, and get answers to them. So it was really something to listen to this about the Agent Orange. And there's a lot of people out there that don't know anything about it. You know, they don't know where to turn. If I could say one thing, I would say contact Hill and Ponton. I says they will be your advocate. They will fight for you uh, tooth and nail